Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Alter Ego Podcast. My name is Jack Austin. And with me, as always, Mr. Mark.
Hey.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
And with us for the first time ever is Mr. Ryan Glover. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on?
How you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
Glad to have you here. Introduce yourself, other than your name being Ryan. How do you know? What brings you to the table? Why do we have you here on the show today? Other than
How
the
did
fact
you
that
get here?
You're actually my real life friend.
I'm your real life friend. That's why I'm here.
Perfect. I love it. All right, so we haven't done this generally. We've had Megan. We've had Mr. Justin. Justin?
Are you there, Justin?
I just think he's going to come back one day.
One day he's going to walk through that door.
Justin? Damn it, Justin. Okay.
So
I figured we would start, and Ryan, full disclosure for everyone listening, was going to bring his top 5 favorite villains because he went out of his way to say, hey, I'm mad I missed the top 5 favorite villains. I want to do this one. So he shows up today, bright and early, with no notes.
You can't make a declaration in the group chat.
I was so excited.
Prepared.
I even wrote a note here. Look at my diligent note-taking. Ryan, top 5 Marvel villains. You hate to see it.
It'll be here.
All right, so we're not going to do top 5 Marvel villains for Ryan yet, but we will. Today's episode, we are discussing the XMen and their hinted entry into the MCU. How's it going to happen? Some of the information that's come out about them as a squad.
I have theories.
Yeah, me too. I have theories, and I have some news that I read a little bit, some stuff from Reddit, and I was like, oh no. I don't know if I like this.
Don't trust Reddit.
But anyway, we're going to let Ryan kick us off with his favorite comic book character. You don't need a note for that.
I was about to ask him the same thing.
Don't even need...
Favorite comic book character?
Period. Doesn't...
Yeah,
anything.
Absolutely, it's absolutely the Hulk.
The Hulk.
All right.
Any reason why? Tell us why, Ryan.
The dude's ginormous and green.
Wow.
Gets pissed off. Fucks things up.
What's your favorite Hulk
What else do you
story?
need to know?
Or movie? Or anything?
The Avengers.
Avengers, yeah? You like the first iteration from Mark Ruffalo or Ed Norton?
Oh, Ruffalo all day.
Ruffalo? You like Ruffalo?
Yeah.
He's interesting. I don't think we'll ever meet somebody who's like, you know what? The Eric Bana interpretation is my favorite.
I hope I don't meet that person. But so are you more of a comics guy or like a movies and video games kind of guy? As far as when it comes to comic book stuff.
He's definitely a video games guy. I can tell you, we've spent some time on some video games, me and the Rag guy. So Hulk, that's a good answer. For reference, mine was Punisher, and Mark's was Squirrel Girl. No, it was Batman. He likes him some Batman. Yeah. So let's jump right into it. As we know, Fox has been acquired by Marvel Studios. Well, Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney bought Fox. Disney owns Marvel.
In a long line of buying everything else in the world. Exactly. So now, in a roundabout way, a very direct way, they own the X-Men. So everybody thought, as soon as that happened, that we were going to see claws popping on screen immediately.
That's what I wanted.
That's what everybody wanted.
No.
I thought...
We got to savor it.
I think for those people that thought we were going to see an X-Men nod or an X-Men like straight up appearance in the MCU, as we'll call it. I mean, obviously there have been so many X-Men movies to this point, a couple of Wolverine solo movies, and all the other ensemble X-Men movies that have been. They thought, we're going to see something. But as far as the MCU goes, there was a lot of theories out there that at the end of Endgame, we were just going to see Wolverine.
I thought at the end of Endgame, you stay for that after credit scene, which we didn't get. But I thought eventually we'd go through all the credits, and then you just see like a little wheelchair rolling by with a big X on the side.
That's what you thought?
I thought we were going to
Professor
see
X?
something like that.
Something along those lines as well.
Because a lot of people thought it was going to be claws popping. They think Wolverine is going to be the guy that they transfer into the MCU.
Okay, well, I have ideas about this, but I'm going to hold off for a little bit till we start digging into it. But I'm glad they held off. I'm glad they didn't jump the gun on it. And I'm hoping they're taking their time and they're really trying to learn from what's happened in the past and just,
introduce them right and take their time and cast appropriately.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think a lot more of this story is written than we thought before they went in and bought the X-Men. I think there's so many story arcs that are already laid out that you can't just throw literally thousands of characters. I mean, when you think about the X-Men, thousands.
Yeah.
There's so many important people. And that's just the thing. A lot of people are arguing, do you start off with a solo movie for, say, Storm? Do you start with Wolverine? Do you start with everybody? If you start with everybody, how do you incorporate them into the already established story? For instance, the Battle of New York, where are the X-Men?
So there's a couple different ways I can go with this. Let's see. I made a note with 3 bullet points on it. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. But there's a couple different ways I can go with this. Let's see here. So I don't know if anybody's ever read an Inhumans comic before. Have either of you read anything with the Inhumans?
I have not read a lot of
Miss Marvel,
no,
Kamala Khan. Basically, to create Kamala Khan, if I may be wrong, don't quote me, don't at me. But the reason she turned into Miss Marvel is because the Terrigen Mist was released, and it released something in her DNA.
I did read about that. Sorry. Okay. Kamala Khan threw me off. Miss Marvel, yes. Okay, yeah.
She was the second Miss Marvel.
Right, correct.
After Miss Marvel became Captain Marvel, she became the next Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they can do something, because if you go back and you see Wanda and Quicksilver, they got turned into quote-unquote mutants. They got changed by the Mind Stone. There was 3 snaps in those Infinity War movies. I'm wondering if maybe it can be one of those widespread things where people had this underlying DNA, and the snaps caused it to kind of break out a little bit and gave them that gamma exposure. So they had to pull from like Inhumans storylines, which they're never going to do Inhumans again. That'll never see the light of day after the debacle with the ABC show.
I was not a fan of that show.
So I'm wondering if maybe the snap could have released the X gene in everybody. They kind of let those, whatever powers they are, kind of get released. I was thinking maybe that's one way it can be done.
So in that scenario, are you saying that people who were snapped come back and they all of a sudden have this? So like the guys that
No, but I like that. Let's dig into that.
So the guys that haven't been snapped away, let's say we have the James Howlett, the X-Men, the Wolverine, the guy that everybody thinks of. He's not snapped away, but somehow when everybody snapped back, he suddenly has these regenerative powers. And that's another thing that we'll talk about too, is I don't think they're going to go with everybody's direct storyline or their background. You know what I mean?
It's going to be an MCU-ized version of it.
Right.
So do you want to see... Okay, so I'll let you talk for a minute. Where do you think this should go? How do you think this should be introduced?
I think the big setup movie for all this, and a good way to introduce all of them, is from the Doctor Strange, Wanda Maximoff version of the Multiverse of Madness. I think they stumble upon a world where the X-Men exist.
I like
History's very different. And then, with Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, the possibilities are endless. I think with those two being on the screen, there's a way they could integrate that somehow. Maybe there's something wrong with that reality.
Gotcha.
And maybe there's a scenario where they're fooling around in Earth 1610 or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And let's say Magneto comes over and realizes it's a world without mutants, and Magneto's your big bad. Magneto's somebody who could handle all the Avengers, I think. I feel personally. I'm a big fan of Magneto. I think he's got the power level to be able to command attention from Captain Marvel, Thor, all the big players. And then they even say, there were some guys that dealt with him over on Earth 1610 called the X-Men. Let's bring them over.
So that's a world that doesn't have the Avengers but does have the X-Men.
Correct.
Okay.
And that would also explain why they weren't there.
They never showed up.
Yeah. That's why the X-Men haven't been involved until now.
Okay, so when we talked about Doctor Doom, I said I didn't want him introduced right away with Fantastic Four stuff. Magneto is somebody I would want introduced right away. Because can you imagine him showing up, crunching Captain America, or crunching Iron Man's suit like a tin can,
stealing
the shield, stealing Mjolnir, like, and all the vibranium from Black Panther. Like, half of them are metal based superheroes. Like, he can just kind of snap his fingers and really take care of all of them in one shot. Pretty much leaves Hulk and Wanda. That's about
we
it.
also need to remember in this story, he's not dealing with a Captain America. He's dealing with Falcon.
That's true.
He's also not dealing with Tony Stark as Iron Man. That doesn't say that he won't have an Iron Man.
I blocked that out of my memory. I forgot Tony Stark's gone.
But he could definitely deal with a War Machine.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Definitely vibranium, because I think that Black Panther 2, which I don't want to dive into yet. I kind of want to focus more on the X-Men. I think Black Panther 2 is going to be a wide door opening for who our next big bad is, personally. That's what I think.
So,
and I think it's going to be Doom. But
the next bullet on my list was similar to that. It involved Doctor Strange and Wanda, because that Wanda Vision show is coming out.
And it's a prequel.
Yes. And the theory behind that show is it a prequel?
Yes.
Okay, because what I read, it was probably incorrect, but what I read was to cope with losing Vision, she was creating all these pocket dimensions to kind of recreate their relationship. And that's why in some of the scenes they're in the 50s, some of the scenes are in a sitcom. There's all these different scenarios where they're in there, and maybe she creates all these different multiverses, and then Doctor Strange has to swoop in and try and clean everything up. And that's what maybe opens up these lines.
Maybe, but I do believe I've read something from Kevin Feige saying that this WandaVision show is a prerequisite to Infinity War.
Okay.
So all of this is leading up to what happens.
Misdirect?
Anything in Marvel could be a
Kevin
misdirect.
Feige would never lie to us.
Good old Kevin.
What do you think? How would you like to see the X-Men introduced?
I don't know.
Okay.
They haven't been in the MCU at all. So
Not at all.
You can't just throw them in there.
Yeah.
Which is what I was thinking. Like, they could just make it happen. But where were they when all the stuff was
Exactly.
going down in New York and everything else happened? I kind of, honestly, wanted to go back to start almost over. Like, if you're starting the MCU over, pretty much, why not start with the X-Men?
I don't think they would do it just because it would just piss everyby off. Like, we've watched 21
you know
movies.
People off?
Not to mention, when you say you are, I was going to say that you are one of the few people I know that doesn't like Endgame. So you say
what?
Take
we could do a whole episode on this.
Make Tony Stark the no. I can't get behind.
We'll dive into that some other time. But there's always somebody that doesn't like it, and I'm not saying that. And you're certainly not alone, because there's plenty of people that have that opinion.
Absolutely.
But circling back to the X-Men, the reason they don't, I think, reset everything is, again, all the characters that are so established. You still have Hawkeye, you still have Thor, you still have the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
You have, and in my opinion, Doctor Strange that's only scratched the surface of what he can do.
Oh, yeah.
You have so many huge characters, Black Panther, and they have all these new ones that could possibly come in, but they're not going to start over and make somebody who has not been introduced a pivotal character going forward. They're not going to say, you know what, we appreciate all your efforts in Infinity War and Endgame. We're going to hand this off to somebody that nobody knows.
Here comes Road.
Yeah, I think the continuity of that story just doesn't really do it for me. And that to kind of go ahead.
Almost do it Infinity War style, where they kind of just clash and meet finally.
I was going to say
that is one of the possible theories.
I could live with that.
Let's do some Secret Wars. Let's do some Battle World.
Mm-hmm. Let's do a Avengers versus X-Men.
That's true.
That could happen.
Imagine Avengers on one side, X-Men on the other. Big portal opens up. They go, that must be the enemy. And then they just charge at each other.
And imagine the shock and awe of the Avengers when people like Cyclops and Colossus and Wolverine and Storm come stepping through that door.
That's a different level.
Those are some players that they would not be used to seeing. And, let's not forget Professor X, Magneto, Juggernaut, Sabretooth, all these big powerhouse players showing up to meet a now diminished Avengers team.
So, okay, let me ask you guys this. Would you like to see a young X-Men team show up? Or an older X-Men team, like an experienced X-Men team, or like Xavier's school of I forget the name of it, but his students.
For gifted youngsters?
For gifted youngsters. I almost said special youngsters, but that's something different.
It's hard to do a young team. How could you do a young Wolverine and do it justice?
That's the hard part.
You know, because
I'm a little scared they're going to go that way. They're going to go. They're going to Tom Holland it. They're going to go young with the hopes of getting 10 years out of these guys.
Tom Holland is also supposed to be a kid.
Yeah, I know.
mean, or Peter Parker.
But
Tom Holland. So
technically, these were all kids at the school at some point.
Yeah. So I think we could see some X-Men that are on the younger side
Like
for
a
sure,
Jubilee.
And then see, yeah,
Little
Jubilee's pretty
firework fingers.
powerful. I mean, if you think about it, she is pretty powerful. Yeah, sometimes she's a choke of firework fingers, but down the road, she's pretty powerful.
Yeah, she is.
And, you know, you got your Kitty Prides.
Mm-hmm.
You got quite a few X-Men that could come in on the younger side.
I just want to see Morph.
Morph. You want to see Morph
bring in
done
Morph.
right? Morph could be anybody. Morph could be a very deceptive key onto how the X-Men get their foot in the door. I personally want to see, for once, and I love James Marsden, I want to see Cyclops done right.
Yeah.
I know he's strong-willed. I know he's a jerk, but I want to see him done right, and I want to see his power level done right. Because
He's been a joke in all the movies.
Yeah,
I was a huge Cyclops fan from the comics and from the animated series because he was kind of like that stoic leader that they all needed.
willing to make the decisions that nobody else does,
Exactly.
including Professor X.
Well, then let me pose another question. Do they go A-level X-Men? Or do they start off with maybe the B or C tier and then work up to the Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm?
Okay, who's your B tier?
Oh, God. Ones that I can't, like your Jubilees, your, not a Road, but maybe you could throw a Road in there because she hasn't really been done in the second, I was going to say trilogy, but there's 4 movies in it.
That was interesting,
Quadrilogy.
yeah, the way they handled Rogue. But here's my challenge with that. If I'm Kevin Feige, if I'm Marvel and Disney, and I want to grab my casual fan, I'm not throwing out Bobby Drake, the Iceman.
That's exactly what I was going
But
to say.
look
I
at,
don't want to see that.
Yeah.
but I beg to differ. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a D-level comic book at best.
Chances are, though, but no, you're right. It was a D-level comic book at best. However, nobody knew them. They aren't established.
Well,
X-Men, the animated series, X-Men with Hugh Jackman, X-Men with, oh my God, who plays Magneto? What's his name? The British guy. Not,
I know his name, but since you're pointing at me, I can't.
golly. I don't know.
Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I almost did the Google
A
song.
premature dude.
I almost did the Google song. Patrick Stewart. I mean, Halle Berry doing the original Storm.
So we've seen 2 Storms, we've seen 2 Magnetos, we've seen 2 Wolverine. Well, no, we've seen 1 Wolverine. But do you go with somebody who we haven't seen? So maybe there's less.
You know who could be a perfect bridge?
Who?
Although it'd be a little ridiculous.
I like this.
It'd be ridiculous.
Is it Danny DeVito?
It would be silly to see this character be the bridge. They're established. They are already confirmed as one of the only people making the
I know
jump
where you're going here.
from FX over to Marvel MCU, and that is Sir Wade Wilson, Deadpool. Is he the guy? Oh, my God. Because not only could he do something like that, you know for a fact if he shows up and meets the Avengers, he's already making fourth wall jokes. He's already talking about the X-Men and, oh, well, you know, we should have been here for the whole Thanos fight. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? On the X-Men side.
I mean, that could, yeah, absolutely.
And he could even come in and say something ridiculous like, well, we're here because Disney bought us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't think they'll go
And
that
then here
silly
comes
route.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, right. He would make a joke about how Hugh Jackman is not Wolverine. He'd say something like, wait till you see the new guy. Ugh.
See, that's my pick of what happens, but that's not what they're going to
No.
do. Because here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that Disney bought Fox just for this. 90% of it.
Yeah.
If you look at that library, they don't really need it. They don't need any. Like, there's some great movies in there, but they're not shy on what they have in their library. They bought this as a power move because they're going to get another 10, 15 years out of these Marvel movies with these new characters that they acquired. So that's why I'm thinking maybe they're going to stretch it out a little bit and see kind of what they can do with it. Get the most out of it.
So here's a quote from Kevin Feige when he's being interviewed by MTV talking about acquiring Fox. Specifically, Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
He says, the truth of it, I'm excited for all of them. He asked if he was excited about just the big names. I'm excited for all of them. I'm excited, and it's not just the marquee names you know. There are hundreds of names on these documents, on those agreements, and the fact that Marvel is as close as we may ever get to now having access to all of the characters is something I've been dreaming about for most of my 20 years at Marvel. It's very exciting. And then it goes to talk about a Redditor who has had extremely accurate predictions.
He's got a good track record
about
going.
the MCU.
Okay.
He says he has a source inside the MCU that he will not reveal, but has been right 99.9%.
Uncle Hawkeye.
It's his uncle, Uncle Hop, something. Uncle Feige.
He's a rabbit. Oh.
Right? His handle, which, IX Con Kid. And somebody commented saying they want to see Storm in a solo Storm movie, which makes sense because she becomes the eventual wife of the Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we very well may see that in
right.
the MCU.
And then we see that relationship, and she can by the way, where you been, Storm? Oh, I've been over here. And it's not from out of the MCU's reach to say Professor X can wipe that memory from everyone's brain, except for your, to me, Doctor Strange and your Wanda Maximoff of the world. I don't think that would happen. But anyway, that's a possibility. And this guy says, Storm? There are so many opportunities now that they have the X-Men back. They're not going to make solo X-Men movies. How do you justify that? And the guy responds to him and goes, they're not going to make solo X-Men movies? How do you justify that to the fans? And he responds, they're definitely having plans to make some solo X-Men movies. That's another reason Feige is excited to get the X-Men back. So many of them can be spun off and have so much more of an important role than Fox has made public to the fans. So, he's saying, there's a lot of stuff going on. Trust me, my friend, he has plans. And this person responds, 100% absolutely not going to happen. They're all team-based characters defined by their moments as a team. So this person's argument is there's no way we're going to get more solo X-Men movies. That's crap. They're a team. But I think that's silly to say that, Colossus or somebody is just an X-Man, period. He can't do whatever he wants on his own. That's just not true. When you look at comics, all of these guys have solo stories where they've all gone off and done something. So I think that's a little silly. And then he literally then this guy responds and says, you literally are forgetting by the time the X-Men have integrated into the MCU, other heroes will be hanging up their capes. You're looking way too far ahead, which I think that's an excellent point. By the time these guys, that's why when we started, I said, a lot of these stories have already been plotted out. A lot of their journeys are already written.
Somewhere there's a very magical whiteboard with movies all the way to 2040 on it. Just a timeline.
There is a retina scanned file somewhere at Disney that you can only get in if you have the frozen eyeball of Walt Disney, and it's only let out every 3 years for them to go in and take notes.
Release the eyeball.
Well, unfreeze Walt's eye. Let us go in and look at the plans. And 4 or 5 guys just walk in and look at the whiteboard. God, I just can't wait. Sorry. Anyway, we got too ahead of ourselves. But they're going to be hanging up their capes by then. You're looking way too far ahead. There are thousands of X-Men that aren't going to be on the team. Let's start here. Some that are going to be new ones we've never seen for diversity purposes, etc. Feige's going to take a homecoming approach to the X-Men to differ it from the Foxverse. There will be 1 or 2 solo films from that franchise as well. Then he has one note. Fantastic Four are easy to do. That's 1 film and they're in. He's absolutely right. All it takes is for them to have some scientific reason for the Richards and the Ben Grimms and the Sue Storms and all of them, or Johnny Storms, to walk through a portal. Boom, we got the Fantastic Four. X-Men's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
It says they don't plan to do the typical 3 solo things in the future. They plan to use Disney Plus as well for movies and series to take the Hulk approach to some heroes by crossing them over as well. Not to mention they're going to go up to 4 films a year. That's not X-Men based. That's all of it. Across the board, they want to start seeing 4 films a year. Yes.
So many movies.
Bring it. I cannot wait. So when I say they do the Hulk approach, who he's mentioning there and who he's talking about is Wolverine. So instead of having your typical solo Wolverine movie, Wolverine's going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
He might get a Disney Plus series
the adventures of Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think
I'd
that's
prefer that.
interesting. Yeah.
I really would. So do you guys want to see them show up as a team? Like Guardians of the Galaxy, or would you like to see them show up separately and turn into a team at the end like the Avengers?
I kind of want the separately to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I think the MCU was so successful is because you actually learned and you cared about these people.
Yeah.
And
before they came together.
And meant something more when they finally got together to fight that big bad.
So you just Suicide Squad it. Here's everybody. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Well, Suicide. Oh, my God. But I don't know. I'm selfish. I want an X-Men movie, and I want it sooner than later. How do you feel, Jack?
Which one of you said Guardians of the Galaxy? Bingo. I think that's how you do that.
Because James Gunn did an amazing job introducing all of those characters and giving us interesting points to care about with all of them in one movie. And not every director can do that.
And they've also shown that they can extend the runtime a little bit and still keep their audience glued to their seats.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So I think you take the model of Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
where you start off with Gamora, and then separately you meet Peter Quill, and then separately you meet Drax, and separately you meet Rocket and Groot. Let's say you start off with a Wolverine. You're with him for 30 minutes. You meet a Storm, completely separate, but something drawing towards them needing to be together. You obviously meet a Professor X or a Jean Grey or a Cyclops, and then maybe they move towards that and have a realization that they need to be a team. But me even talking about it right now sounds like that's a super freaking long-ass movie.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what? I'll buckle in for 2.5 hours.
I would too.
But like, didn't Professor X bring them all together in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
that's how the X-Men came
Right.
about. So how are they going to meet each other and, hey, let's be a team? It doesn't seem to work as well.
That's where I think
Guardians.
they have their own struggles individually, and they kind of have we said Guardians of the Galaxy, even a Avengers movie. We have a Phil Coulson effect where they each run into somebody. They could each in some way or another run into Professor X, whether it be through the mind games or whatever you want to call it. Or they each have a run-in with Magneto, and Magneto mentions Charles Xavier, and they don't know Charles, and they go searching for him. Could be something like
and
that.
they all have like a universal enemy in the situation, and it brings them all together.
Right.
Okay.
So to finish that whole conversation so we can move on to that, it says Disney Plus can be taken out of the equation as its TV shows, and they'll never be the equivalent of a blockbuster movie. This is the other guy. They still don't have space for solo X-Men movies. I don't know who this guy is. His name's Accurate Broccoli, and I got to go ahead and say, Accurate Broccoli, I disagree with you.
I hate broccoli, and I hate him.
I'm not so adversely affected by broccoli, but
Fun fact, Jack loves broccoli.
I do. I do. So, side story, and my wonderful wife is on her way here.
Tell me about broccoli.
We had a party at the house, and we had barbecue. We had all kinds of food to be eaten, and Megan made sure there was a shit ton of broccoli. And I remember her coming to me at some point in the party going, nobody's eating the broccoli. I don't know what's going on, but nobody's eating the broccoli. So me being a smartass and a jerk and an a-hole and not being sensitive to my wife's genuine worry that people didn't want to eat the broccoli she prepared, I started singly going to everybody at this party. Hey, you got any broccoli on that plate? How's your broccoli? Have you tried it? And she was so mad at me. And I was just like, hey, go outside. Hey, anybody got any broccoli? Are we going to balance out our diets here or just drink beer and eat crap? It was at my birthday. That's what it was.
It was your birthday.
Yeah.
It's a very intimidating birthday party.
Like, hey, guys, it's not a birthday party without some broccoli. And we, at the end of the story, we finished it. But it was very funny. And then we went out to a bar, and a couple people brought pieces of broccoli with them from the house. Pocket broccoli.
I imagine they're still eating it. They're just like,
yeah. It was very, very funny. Shout out to all my friends that brought broccoli to the bar. That was a lot of fun.
Broccoli to the beer.
Yeah. So, Accurate Broccoli. I don't really dig this guy's ideas. But anyway, X-Con Kid, whatever the hell his name is, they definitely plan to do films and series from smaller characters who they don't think need a big Hollywood film on Disney+. Mm-hmm. That's genius. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. You have characters, like I talk about Beta Ray Bill. I don't think Beta Ray Bill could carry his own movie. No way. You're not going to get people out to the theaters. But you introduce him to a movie and you give him a series on Disney+, people are going to watch it, man. They're going to watch it. Like
I keep talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Guardians. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see any of them in individual. I don't want to see a Drax movie.
I couldn't sit through a Rocket movie. No. I love Rocket Raccoon. I couldn't sit through a movie with just him. Although Bradley Cooper's insanely talented. Yeah.
I want to see them together, and I feel like we're going to get that same vibe from this, but with a couple offshoots on Disney Plus or wherever it may be.
Yeah, I could do 45-minute episodes of Groot walking around only saying I am Groot. I'm kidding. I couldn't do that. So if I had to trust my close personal source, who's been 99% right and has given my info I've shared with everyone on Reddit versus you, I'm sorry I've got to go with him. But if you're so against it, you're definitely not going to like what Feige's plans, including Wolverine. So that is where we kind of got into the whole Wolverine is going to be a Hulk-esque character.
Yeah.
Not a focal point like he has been.
I love Wolverine, but I'm not clamoring for another Wolverine movie right now.
Right.
Maybe in a couple years, maybe 5 years, but right now,
And you're right, and I keep bringing him up. I'm guilty of that because I love the character, but a full-on Wolverine-focused movie that's done right is going to be, I think, kind of repetitive.
I'd rather see a Wolverine series, like you mentioned before.
He's going to freak out. He's going to pop the claws. He's going to amputate some limbs. That's Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. And he can do that in a Hulk movie, or he can do that in a Storm movie, or he can whatever it may be.
He could be that guy that when the odds are so insurmountable, at the very last second in the 11th hour, good old Wolverine pops in and saves the day. I think he could serve his purpose perfectly like that. I think giving him an A-plus actor like Hugh Jackman, that's great. But after a while, you're going to realize that you need a lot more than claws for the story for him. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of anything except for Logan.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
I liked most of Hugh Jackman's movies, but I was thinking, could Magneto be the first villain titled movie in the MCU? Could he be the first villain point of view movie?
I would watch.
Yeah. He's got such an interesting backstory.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, he's just such a layered character, and I know I've talked about him a couple of times, but I just think he could be the one.
There were ideas for a Magneto solo movie, and they got scrapped.
Was it called X-Men Origins Magneto?
Yes, it was.
Then I'm glad it got scrapped.
Yeah. And I don't know who they would have tapped on the shoulder to play that, if it would have been Michael Fassbender or Ian McKellen. All I know is you're absolutely right. When you're looking at X-Men villains that could carry a story, he doesn't even need to be an X-Men villain, honestly, for Magneto to carry a story. He could do it
just
either
be
way.
Magneto.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they don't go Magneto, if they decide to hold off on him, who do they do as the big bad in the X-Men chapter of the universe?
I think we've talked about this guy before. You know who I'm going to say?
I think we have the same guy in mind.
Mr. Sinister?
Mr. Sinister.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. I finally want to see Mr. Sinister. He's on my top 5.
Wait, who did I say would play him and do a great job? From Mad Men. What's his name?
Oh, John Hamm.
John Hamm.
There we go, John Hamm.
John Hamm. I think
Hamm
he would play
good.
a great Mr. Sinister.
I'm so surprised he hasn't been cast in anything in Marvel or DC.
And Mr. Sinister could be a pretty popular character to bring Deadpool into the fold as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have had some very historic spats.
Wasn't there like a little Mr. Sinister Easter egg in the Deadpool movie?
I don't believe so. Not if it was, I missed it.
Yeah,
there was a briefcase that got thrown on the counter that said Essex Corp on it, and it had all the blood vials.
Oh, that is correct.
So
I don't remember that, but hey,
maybe they're keeping Ryan Reynolds. Maybe they just keep that going.
So I
Googled the thing.
Googled top 25 villains for the X-Men. Just
number 25.
Oh, should we start at 25? I'll go back up to the top of the list.
Back to top.
Somebody who I don't
we don't have to do all
think-
25.
Somebody, let's just go through it then. Number 25 on the list is Pyro. Don't see that happening. I don't see Pyro being strong enough.
10, but
Toad.
now let's do Toad instead.
Sauron. How would they even bring him in? I don't even like that.
I don't know, but do the pterodactyl.
Arcade. Wow, we're really going through.
Mojo.
I would love to see a Mojo movie. You know who could play Mojo? Rosie O'Donnell.
Roseanne Barr.
Mystique. They won't do Mystique.
No.
That's for sure. Especially, well, although they are wiping the slate clean, I just don't think Mystique is that person, man. She is not solo carry approved in my mind. I think they had Jennifer Lawrence, and we're like, we got Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Now that guy
He almost made
could
my
be
top
interesting.
5 as well.
Omega Red.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, he's a baller. I like Omega Red. Don't know if he's strong enough to handle everybody.
There's your boy.
Shaw or Sabretooth. Yeah. And now Emma Frost would be a strong one. She'd be good.
Absolutely.
Vulcan, that would be a good one. Gabriel Summers, but they really can't do that. Can't go back. But here he is, Mr. Sinister.
Number 8. That is a horrible ranking.
I think he would be perfect for the role, man. He's clear-cut bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody that if you did start off with with Magneto, Magneto could eventually say, okay, I'm going to handle this problem. I'm going to put you boys on the back burner. I'm going to handle him first.
Like, I'm a bad guy, but he's a real bad guy.
Yeah. Let's see who else. Dark Phoenix, that won't happen.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and some of these bad guys are such Apocalypse.
They're not going to touch Apocalypse with a 10-foot pole for
You
at least
so?
5 years.
You don't think so?
Not after that last movie.
Huh. Number 1 on the list, Magneto. I don't know. That's a tough one. If anybody has any ideas, we got Onslaught here. I think he would be a good one. I mean, so this is from this series, Fatal Attraction. After Wolverine is nearly killed by Magneto, Xavier's rage causes him to shut down his old friend's mind. During that time, Magneto's own rage and desire to get revenge entered Xavier's mind and awakened all of his dormant negative feelings.
Yeah, that's like a...
This is a terrible Dr. Phil episode. All right, now, Charles, I just need you to shut down all these bad thoughts you're having about Wolverine, okay? Go down into your psyche and dig out all those negative thoughts, and let's project them. Hold on now. And then he turns into Onslaught. That's how...
Just Dr. Phil.
That is how the X-Men find their way into the MCU, is through Dr. Phil.
Sell it back to Fox.
And you know what? Okay, that's perfect. So Dr. Phil brings Charles Xavier onto the show. Has a great time. Then at the end, he unleashes Onslaught. And then things are getting crazy, getting dicey for all the X-Men. Rogue comes in and says, catch me outside. How about that? Catch me outside, Onslaught. How about that? I feel like I should be writing this down.
I gotta go.
Kevin, are you listening?
He's never
Feige!
listening.
Oh, we're just going to dismiss that whole idea?
Absolutely
Yes.
not. It's
What?
genius.
Oh,
Anything that involves
man.
Dr. Phil, I'm out.
That would have been so good. Dr. Phil, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, let
With
us
all
know
your
what
free
you think.
time.
Let us know what you think. So, I think there are so many different ways for the X-Men to come into the universe. Me personally, I'm going to go the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness route as an introduction, not as a major focal point. I don't think they even take a chunk of that movie out. I think maybe they're a part of the story, and then we,
Like
I don't know.
You peek through a window and you just see claws.
No, not so much that. You're right. I think they'll be a big part of it, but not the lion's share. Maybe they're part of it. They help out Wanda and Doctor Strange, and there's some reason for them to come over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's an end scene clip of a Magneto joining the MCU, and then
So that movie is filmed and finished. Do you think this is done in the can? They've already made these choices?
Is it filmed and finished?
I think so.
I don't think it's post-production
Because it was
yet.
supposed to be out in November.
What was?
Multiverse of Madness.
Was it really?
Nope. No.
I don't think so.
That was Eternals that was coming out in November.
You know what we can do?
There we go. So you know what? Maybe that was June? I think it was June, now that I think about it. I was trying to think of the schedule. Because Eternals was November.
Multiverse of Madness. Here we go. Let's just see what it says on IMDb, if it's in post-production or not. Let's see here. Ryan, enough. Pre-production. They have not started shooting.
Wow. Okay.
This is expected March 25th, 2022.
Oh, my God. Okay. So they got plenty of time.
Rumored. No, see, this is how early in production they are. They're rumored to have Sam Raimi as a director. They don't even have one pinned down.
No, Sam Raimi did confirm.
Did
on
he?
Twitter, yes.
IMDb, I know you're listening.
Listen here,
Update
Internet
your
Movie
site.
Database.
Yeah, you're killing me, man.
I'm just hoping.
He's hoping.
Good Lord. I'm just hoping they tumble through all these universes and they just see Tobey Maguire.
Crying.
That's all I want.
Just
Tobey
crying.
Maguire crying or dancing.
Doing his ugly cry.
Poker table.
Yuck.
Being a dick.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we've got some solid theories out here. I'd love to hear from all of you. Love to hear from you.
Who is your favorite X-Men?
My
Leave
favorite
it in the
X-Men?
You can answer first, and then they can answer in the comments below.
Cyclops.
How about you?
Wolverine, man.
Wolverine.
Yeah, it's got to be Wolverine.
I'm surprised no Gambits. A lot of people like Gambit.
He's my second.
That was
Isn't it?
that long-lost movie that never happened. I wonder if they'll actually do
Yeah.
that now. If they'll actually cast Magic Mike. What's his name?
My second place vote for favorite X-Man is Bishop.
Bishop. All right.
See, I wasn't sure if you were counting him
Oh, yeah.
as, okay.
How could you not? I like Bishop. And I thought they did him pretty well in Days of Future Past for the 10 seconds
I was
he's
going to
on
say for
camera.
the time he was in there.
He looked
Top
great.
5 heroes.
I
Bishop's
thought they
my
did the
number
power
two.
well.
Storm's probably my number 2.
She's very good. Very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
So if you want to tell us who you think is very good and very powerful, people are like, oh, God, will these guys ever shut up? Yeah, sure.
Send
we
us
will.
a postcard.
We will. Send it to alteregopodcast2@gmail.com. Or,
Post it on our Facebook page.
yep, at Alter Ego Podcast. Or you can get us on Twitter at podcast_ego, Instagram, Alter Ego Podcast, or youtube.com/Alter Ego Podcast. Please send us your thoughts as I gently play you into obscurity. You're calm, thinking of nothing. You're on a cloud of alter
All
ego.
of a sudden, Mad Max. Goodbye, everybody.
I'm going to keep letting it play. Mom, this one's for you.